Welcome to this second lecture on the predicate logic. In the previous lecture, we have gone through the basic introduction to the predicate logic, and we have seen what a predicate is and how is it different from a proposition. Just to have a quick recap, a proposition is a statement which has a clearly defined truth value. Now the truth value can be either true or false. A predicate is a statement that involves a propositional variable. Say for example, if I specify the predicate, let us say p of x as x plus 5 is equal to 7. Now the truth value of this predicate can be either true or false depending upon the value of x. Now the set of values from where x can take its value is called the universe of discourse. Universe of discourse, or the domain of x. It is designated as UD. Now depending upon the value of x, this predicate can have either a propositional value of truth value of true or false. Now if I specify a particular value of x, let us say if I write x is equal to 5, then this predicate now becomes a proposition. 5 plus 5 is equal to 7. Now it is no longer a predicate, it is now a proposition. So in a nutshell, as soon as we substitute the value of the variable with the propositional constant or with a constant, the predicate becomes a proposition, and now it has a specific truth value, which in this case is false. If it was x is equal to 2, then p2 is 5 plus 2 is equal to 7. Now this proposition has a truth value of true. We also saw that there are two quantifiers. One is called the universal quantifier, which represents for all, and the other was the existential quantifier, which represents there exists. What it means is, if I write for all x p of x, it means that the predicate p of x is true for all the values of x from the universe of discourse. In other words, I can substitute any value of x from the universe of discourse and the predicate will be converted into a proposition with a truth value of true. This existential quantifier, it means that there exists at least one value of x in the universe of discourse for which this predicate is true. Please remember, this means for all the values of x, px is true. This means there exists at least one value of x in the universe of discourse for which the predicate gets converted into a proposition which is true. Now let us see certain examples. A quick recap of the definition. The universal quantification of the predicate px is the proposition px is true for all values of x in the universe of discourse. We write it as for all x px. The existential quantification of a predicate px is the proposition there exists an x in the universe of discourse such that px is true. Please remember, you cannot take on examples to verify the universal quantifier, but you can prove the violation of universal quantifier by using a counter example. Let's see some examples. Let px be the predicate x must take a discrete mathematics course, and qx be the predicate x is a computer science student. The universe of discourse for both p and q is all the students, and all the students of, let us say, my university, or all the students who are studying this particular course. Now I have defined two predicates over here. One is the predicate px, one is the predicate qx. Px says x must take a discrete mathematics course. Now when I substitute a value of x from the universe of discourse, let's say take an example, there is a student named Ram. Then Ram must take a discrete mathematics course. Now this is a proposition which can be either true or false. Similarly, Ram is a computer science student. Once again, this proposition can be either true or false. Now let's take certain examples. Express the statement every computer science student must take a discrete mathematics course. Please remember, as I told you earlier, whenever you see the words every, all, each, they are indicating that we have to use the for all quantifier. So it says every computer science student must take a discrete mathematics course. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, if you are a computer science student, then you have to take a discrete mathematics course. So what it says is, for all students, if the student is a computer science student, then the student must take a discrete mathematics course. Every computer science student must take a discrete mathematics course. Let's once again ponder on this. If I write every computer science student must take a discrete mathematics course, it simply means that if, let's take the same case, if Ram is a computer science student, then Ram must take a discrete mathematics course. Ram is a computer science student, X is a computer science student, is QX, and X must take, or Ram must take, discrete mathematics course is the PX. I could have written it as Q of Ram implies P of Ram. What it means, Ram is a computer science student. If Ram is a computer science student, I'll write it here. If Ram, what I'm doing is I am substituting X by Ram. If Ram is a CS student, then Ram must take discrete mathematics course. Right? Now when I write it in terms of predicates, it now becomes, for all X, QX implies PX. For all the values that are coming from the universe of this course, if X is a computer science student, then X must take a discrete mathematics course. Let's take another example. Everybody must take a discrete mathematics course. Everybody must take a discrete mathematics course for all X, P of X, or be a computer science student. It says it is either, let's once again ponder on this. It says everybody must take a computer science a discrete mathematics course, or be a computer science student. For all X, all the values of X, either this should be true or this should be true, right? So I'll write it as, for all X, Q of X or P of X. Please note the positioning of the parenthesis. Please see that I put the parenthesis over QX or PX. So this means this for all X is actually quantifying this compound proposition. This QX is quantifying the compound proposition. Let's see some more examples. Express the following in symbolic forms. Some chalkboards are green. Some. If I'm using some, that means I'm using the existential quantifiers. So once again, what we'll do is, we will first identify the two predicates, right? So we'll identify a predicate. P of X says X is a chalkboard, and Q of X says X is green. Now please, let's understand this very carefully. P of X says X is a chalkboard, and Q says X is green. Now what the statement says, some chalkboards are green. What it means is, there exists a particular chalkboard, there exists at least one chalkboard which is green. Let us assume that each and every chalkboard has a name, and let us say there is a chalkboard by the name, let us say chalkboard 1. So let us say there is a chalkboard by the name chalkboard 1 which is green. It is not necessary that chalkboard 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 will also be green, but at least there is one chalkboard that is green. So I'll use the existential quantifier over here. It says there exists a chalkboard X such that X is a chalkboard and X is green. Here the universe of discourse will be the set of all the chalkboards. So what it says is, there exists an element X in the universe of chalkboards such that X is a chalkboard and X is green. Every student has a laptop. Every student. every student means now I'll have to use universal quantifier. Once again, identify the two predicates. L, let us say L and M, let me use. L says X is a student and M says X is a laptop. Now every student has a laptop. It means if X is a student, then X has a laptop. So for all X, if X is a student, then X has a laptop. In fact, whenever you see a informal statement using every, all, wherever you have to use the universal quantifier, the thumb rule is use implication. And wherever you are using the existential quantifier, use the conjunction. This is a simple thumb rule. All chairs have 4 legs. Once again, universal quantifier. X is a chair, X has 4 legs. If X is a chair, then X has 4 legs. And as I say all over here, so I'll use universal quantifier. All people are mortal. Once again, X is people, X is mortal. All means universal quantifier, and as it is a universal quantifier, I'll use a implication. Now see this one. This is a little bit tricky. Faridabad is an industrial city. Faridabad is a city in India. So Faridabad is an industrial city. Now do I use universal quantifier or do I use an existential quantifier? Now the universe of discourse, for this case, the universe of discourse will be cities. So I'll write X is Faridabad city, X is a city by the name Faridabad, and X is an industrial city. So there exists a Faridabad city. As Faridabad is one city, I cannot say, हाँ देवेश, हाँ. Now we say if X is a city, if X is Faridabad, then if there is a city X, sorry, we say that there is a city X and X is a industrial city. So I'll use existential. I cannot use universal over here. I cannot use universal over here because I cannot say for all the Faridabads. I cannot say like that. Why? Because Faridabad is one city. So I'll say there exists a city, that there exists a Faridabad city, and that city is an industrial city. So I'll use an existential quantifier. Some apples are sweet. Once again, some means existential. So X is an apple, X is sweet. Some apples are sweet. Some integers are prime and some are composite. Now if you see it, in the first instance, our gut feeling says that I'll define 3 predicates over here. One is X is an integer, one says X is prime, and the third says X is composite. Now let us break this entire statement into 2 parts. It says some integers are prime. I can very easily convert it into a formal manner. If I say P as X is an integer, Q as X is prime, I can say existential quantifier P of X and Q of X. There exists at least one integer X such that there exists such that one X such that X is an integer and X is prime. Now the second part says some integers, the integer is understood over here, are composite. So there exists X such that P of X and Rx is X is composite R of X. Now both of them are connected by a OR. So what I'll say is this statement, sorry, both of them are connected not by OR, by AND. So I'll write this conjunction this. Now this question could be solved with using only 2 predicates also. Why? Because we know that being prime and being composite are inverse of each other. So I can say that if a number is prime, it cannot be composite, and if it is a composite, it cannot be prime. So I could have written there exists X such that Px and Qx, and I could have written there exists X, Px and negation of Qx. I could write this like this also. but it is up to you. You can use these as separate predicates, or you can use it as a single predicate and use the composite and represent the composite as a negation of the prime predicate. Let's take some more examples. Let us define the universe of discourse as 3, 5, 7, 9, and we have written certain quantified statements over here. We have to find a counter example. Please understand, if I can find a counter example, I can say that the statement is false. But if I cannot find a counter example, then I will have to say that the statement is true. Now I am saying the first statement, for all x, x plus 3 is greater than equal to 7. Now this is a predicate. Now I want to check whether this predicate is true or false. Now how will I do it? I will try to find a counter example. If I can find a counter example for which this statement becomes false, then I will say that this predicate is false. Now let us see, if I put the first value 3, 3 plus 3 becomes 6, which is not greater than equal to 7. So 3 becomes my counter example, and so I can say that if this is, let us say, if it is being represented by p of x, this is, let us say, q of x, this is, let us say, r of x, and this is, let us say, s of x. So I can say that for all x, p of x is false. For all x, x is odd, right? Now let us see the 4 elements. 3 is odd, 5 is odd, 7 is odd, 9 is odd. I cannot find any counter example. So I'll have to write for all x, q of x is true. See, there is no counter example, so it is true. For all x, x is prime. 3 is a prime, 5 is a prime, 7 is a prime, but 9 is not a prime. So I'll write for all x, r of x is false. As I can find a counter example, so it is false. For all x, absolute value of x is equal to x, as all these 4 are positive numbers and their absolute value will be equal to the original number itself. So for all x, s of x is. So if you can find a counter example, I can say that the universally quantified proposition predicate is false. If you cannot find a counter example, it will be. Consider the function x defined as mod x is x if x is greater than equal to 0 and minus x if less than 0. Determine the truth value of each proposition when the universe of discourse is set of all real numbers. Now the first question says for all x, x square is greater than equal to 0. Right? For all x, x square is greater than equal to 0. Now the function has been defined as if x is greater than equal to 0, if x is greater than equal to 0, then function says mod of x is equal to x. So now for all x means for all real numbers. Now I can divide this as negative real numbers and positive real numbers. For negative real numbers, if x is negative, then modulus x is positive. Minus x means negative of negative number, that means it becomes positive and its square will obviously be positive. So for negative numbers, this is true. For positive numbers, if x is positive, then x remains as it is. So square of positive number is positive. So for positive numbers, this is true. For 0, I have negative number, positive number and 0. 0 square is 0, which is equal to 0. So this is true for negative numbers, positive numbers and 0. So this is. For all x, it says this is greater than 0. Now absolute value for all x, once again let's check. For negative numbers, numbers less than 0, the absolute value is minus x, right? So it becomes a positive value. So if x is equal to, let us say, minus 5, then modulus x becomes 5. Now 5 is greater than 0. So this is true for negative numbers. Now let us see for positive numbers. If let us say x is equal to 7, then absolute value of 7 becomes 7. So this is still 7 is greater than 0. So this is true for this also. But what about x is equal to 0? For x is equal to 0, if you see over here, x is equal to 0, absolute value of 0 is 0. But 0 is not greater than 0. It is equal to 0, but it is not greater than 0. So I have a counter example. 0 is a counter example. So as I can find a counter example, so I can say that the truth value of this is false. Let's see some more examples. We have defined two predicates. P of x says x cube is greater than x, and qx says x cube is equal to x, and the universe of discourse is set of integers. Now we have to find out the truth table of each proposition. The first says for all x, negation of px. What it means is for all x, p is false. In other words, it says there does not exist any integer for which x cube is greater than x. This is obviously false. If I simply put x is equal to, let us say, 2. If I put x is equal to 2, then x cube is greater than x, that means 8 is greater than 2 becomes true. P of x is true. That means negation of px becomes false. So x is equal to 2 or x is equal to, for that matter, any positive integer greater than 1 becomes a counter example. For all x, px and qx, what it means is for each and every integer, x cube is greater than x and x cube is equal to x. Obviously this is false. Once again, I can take the same example too. Please understand that we have a conjunction over here. Conjunction means this has to be true as well as this has to be true. So if I take this value x is equal to 2, qx becomes false. So as soon as this becomes false, this conjunction becomes false. So x is equal to 2 once again becomes a counter example. For all x, px or qx. Now this situation is a slightly different situation. Now the counter example, if there is any, should be the one where this becomes false and this becomes false. Only then this disjunction will become false. Now let us see, if I take x is equal to say -2, then -2 cube is -8 is greater than -2, this is false, and -8 is equal to -2, this is once again false. So x is equal to -2 becomes a counter example, x is equal to -2 becomes a counter example for this, and so we can say that this is also false. Now see this case. We have this statement is similar to this statement, but here I was using a universal quantifier, here I am using a existential quantifier. Please understand, here I was looking for a counter example to say that this statement is false. Here, even if I can find a single statement, even if I can find a single number x for which this is equivalent to c, similar to c. So if I can find disjunction means if this is true or this is true, this entire thing will become. So for any number x is equal to, let us say 2, once again let's use the same value, x is equal to 2, p of x becomes true. Q of x is false, but this is true, and as we have a disjunction over here, this entire thing becomes true, so this becomes true. This existential quantifier becomes true. If the domain is finite, this is very important point, if the domain is finite, then the quantifiers can be represented by conjunction or disjunction. Say for example, if the domain is having only 3 numbers 1, 2 and 3, then for all px means p of 1 is true and p of 2 is true and p of 3 is true. Existential quantifier means if I say there exists x px means p of 1 is true or p of 2 is true or p of 3 is true. This will be false only when all 3 of these will be false. Even if one of P1 or P2 or P3 becomes true, then this becomes. Even if the domains are infinite, you can think of the two quantifiers like this, but obviously you cannot write them like this because the expressions that you need to write will become infinitely long. Last point to make over here is the scope of quantifiers. The scope of quantifier, right? So if I write for all x px, it basically means that this for all is being applied only on Px. There exists y qy. That means this there exists quantifier is being applied only on q. This for all will have no impact on q, and similarly there exist will have no impact on p. If I write it like this, for all Px and this, so now this once again, although I am using the same variable over here, but still I'll write for all values of x, Px is true, and there exists a value, at least a value of x for which q of x is true. But still this for all is being applied on this Px, and there exist is only being applied on Qx. So that's enough for today. In the next lecture, we will talk about how to use multiple variables and how to put on quantifiers on multiple variables. We'll also see what do we actually mean by free and bound variables. Till then, thank you.